Hello, and thank you for having me today. I want to tell you about my experience teaching gifted students and teaching science, but first I want to thank you all for your generosity. 7 years ago, I started a chess club at Interlake, just for kids to have something to do after school while learning new skills, developing friendships, and staying connected to school. We bought our first chess sets with a grant from Bellevue School's foundation. Everyone in this room who has kids, and that includes me, knows that when our kids feel happy and connected to the school, we sleep better at night. Thank you to BSF for understanding that it's not just about the academics, but also about kids' healthy social and emotional development. I am now the chess coach at Interlake, and we have 3 Kinko titles and 1 state title over the last 3 years, and yes, we beat Lakeside. Thanks again for your support. We've had the gifted program at Interlake for 5 years now. I've been teaching physics to our gifted students from the very beginning. The days leading up to my first classes with gifted students were filled with anxiety about ensuring that I was challenging the students. But my expectations were completely different from what I encountered. A lot of what I do in teaching physics is about reasoning as opposed to just knowing. Students often have a hard time with that, and gifted kids are not an exception. These students need to be transformed from valuing knowing facts to approaching learning more as a thinking process. Gifted students are great at memorizing things and spitting them out or doing exactly what I've shown them, but that's not the point of education. There's a good deal of freedom in teaching gifted students. In a traditional class, I show students how to solve a problem. In a gifted classroom, I can set up the problem and say, here's where I would start. They have the mathematical understanding to take it from there. I don't have to spend time on reviewing or remediation, and that gives us a lot more time to explore physics concepts in depth and plan activities that both engage the students and challenge their understanding. This group challenges teachers. You have to get used to saying, I don't really know the answer to that question, but we can figure it out. The more they know, the bigger their demands, and they can put more together. One student, for instance, was always asking me how you would set up the equations for motion and forces in a video game he was developing. Another asked me about the circuitry for a robot. They seem to have more experiences where they've thought about the things they're learning and what it means in real life. In fact, it can be a little disheartening to see all of this talent in math and science and then come to find out they're more interested in economics or politics. Sometimes people wonder whether gifted students really need a special program. When students don't find value in what they're learning, when it seems redundant or too easy, they're not going to be engaged. And that becomes a death spiral because they may miss out on new learning that could be engaging. Once they become disengaged, you may never get them back. We are not here to simply hold on to these kids and rest on our laurels since they are already exceeding grade level. When they walk in the first day of class, we're here to challenge them because adolescence is about extending intellectual borders, rediscovering the world, and enjoying the satisfaction that comes from realizing you're experiencing insight and growth. And at the same time we're helping them grow, our aim is to provide a safe and healthy setting to give them the advanced learning they crave while still being able to be in a classroom with peers of their own age, able to be regular high school students participating in sports, clubs, dances, and everything else that makes the teenage years enjoyable and wholesome. It can be hard for teens to find their identity in their small niche of society. Remember that along with getting them to transition to learning as a process, one in which they use justification and reasoning, we also want to help them move from adolescence into adulthood. I work with a physics education group at the University of Washington. It's a research group that develops science curriculum tutorials that are used all over the world and also provides professional development in physics. I teach kinematics and dynamics to other teachers, helping them develop inquiry techniques to probe student understanding. This enables me to talk to lots of high school science teachers. I'm always surprised when high schools that are larger than ours offer fewer science classes than we do. I'm grateful that in Bellevue, if a student wants to take a science class, we meet that request. At Interlake, we just assume kids will do 4 years of science, all kids. Bellevue Schools Foundation funds so much in our district, including science. Thank you for understanding the importance of science education for our kids' future and your generosity in supporting Bellevue Schools Foundation so we can continue to provide 4 years of science instruction in our high schools. And it's so much more. The gifted program at Interlake came about as a result of lots of hard work by parent volunteers and staff as they put in many hours over many months designing this unique program. Bellevue Schools Foundation then funded a staff person to work on a temporary, part-time basis to guide the program from planning to implementation. So now I'd like to give you an opportunity to hear from a student in the gifted program. Tanya Rivers-Moore is a senior at Interlake High School. She's going to tell you about her experience as a student both before and after she ended the gifted program. She is also going to tell you about her internship, which is a good example of experiential learning in action. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the honor of presenting to you a student I'm very proud of, Ms. Tanya Rivers-Moore.